Ladies and gentlemen, I have a question for you. How many times have you heard this phrase, behind every successful man, there is a woman? Now, let me flip the script. Behind every successful woman, there is WHO, I'll tell you. Behind every successful woman, there's herself, her fire, her resilience, her fight against the odds. And when the world tries to clip her wings, she becomes the wind beneath her Obi-Wan wings. But let's be real. Success for a woman isn't just about talent, it's about courage. It's about breaking barriers. It's about refusing to be just another name in the crowd and deciding to be the name that stands out, that leads, that changes the game. A woman's greatest power is the belief she holds in herself. Because the truth is, no one else is coming to hand her success on a silver platter. No one else is going to fight her battles for her. No one else will light the fire in her soul. She is her own savior. She is her own hero. She is the architect of her destiny. For centuries, the world has told women that they need someone else to lift them up, that their success depends on the approval of others, that they need a helping hand, a guiding force, a man's validation to be truly successful. But let me ask you this: who decided that? Who wrote that rule? Who had the audacity to believe that women cannot rise without permission? Because the women I know, the women I see, the women I stand with are unstoppable, unshakable, and undeniably powerful. The world will test a woman in ways no one can imagine. She will be told she's too much, and at the same time, not enough. Too loud, too ambitious, too independent, too fearless. They will tell her to tone it down, to be less intimidating, to fit into a mold that was never meant to hold her in the first place. But here's the truth: she was never born to fit in. She was born to stand out. She was born to rise. She was born to rewrite the rules. Success doesn't come knocking at her door. She has to build that door with her own hands. She has to carve her path brick by brick, tear by tear, sacrifice by sacrifice. And the hardest part, believing in herself when the world refuses to believe in her. That's where the battle truly begins. Not in boardrooms, not in offices, not on stages, not in books, but in the deepest corners of her mind, where doubt whispers, where fear lingers, where hesitation tries to take root. But let me tell you something about a woman who decides she is enough. She becomes dangerous. A woman who stops waiting for permission, who stops seeking validation, who stops asking, "Can I?" and starts saying, "I will." That is the moment the world starts to take notice. That is the moment she becomes unstoppable. Because behind every successful woman, there isn't luck. There isn't a shortcut. There isn't an easy road. There is a woman who refused to give up. A woman who fell down 7 times and stood up 8. A woman who was laughed at, doubted, ridiculed, and still walked into the room like she owned it. They said she couldn't do it, but she did. They said she didn't belong, but she stayed. They said she would fail, but she rose. And when they finally turned around to see her standing tall, they asked, "How did you do it?" And she smiled, because she knew the answer was always within her. It was never about them. It was never about their doubts. It was never about their opinions. It was always about her believing in herself when no one else did. That belief, that fire inside her, it is the difference between a woman who stays in the shadows and a woman who commands the stage, the room, the world. No one else can fight for her dreams the way she can. No one else can push through the storms, the sleepless nights, the rejections, the battles, the doubts like she can. Because a woman who backs herself is a woman who will never lose. And let me make something very clear: success is not just for the privileged, not just for the lucky, not just for the ones born with connections, wealth, or advantages. Success belongs to the woman who refuses to stop. The woman who wakes up every single day and decides that her dreams are non-negotiable, that her goals are valid, that her ambitions are not too big, not too much, not too impossible. A woman who stands up for herself, who invests in herself, who loves herself, that is a woman who cannot be defeated. Because she understands that she is not waiting to be saved. She is saving herself every single day. She is her own biggest supporter. She is her own fiercest warrior. She is her own greatest power. And the world will either move aside or get ready to watch her rise. Women empowerment is not a favor. It is not a handout. It is not something that needs to be granted, gifted, or given. It is a birthright. It is a force, an unstoppable wave that cannot be controlled, cannot be silenced, cannot be turned into a trend that fades away with time. It is not a movement of a moment. It is the heartbeat of change, the very foundation of a richer where women don't just exist, they lead, they build, they revolutionize. But for far too long, the world has treated women empowerment as if it's a privilege handed down, as if it is something that must be approved, permitted, and cautiously distributed in small doses. No more. A woman's strength, a woman's potential, a woman's voice does not need validation. It needs space. It needs power. It needs freedom. They call it empowerment, as if women are being given something they never had. But let's be clear, women were always powerful, always capable, always brilliant. The problem was never a lack of strength, intelligence, or ambition. The problem was a world that feared what would happen when women stopped asking and started taking what was rightfully theirs. So here we are. No more asking. No more waiting. No more whispering in corners and hoping to be heard. The time for quiet battles is over. This is the era of women who walk into every room like they belong there because they do. Women empowerment is not a sweet little campaign for posters and slogans. It is not about making women feel good for a day and then pushing them back into the background. It is about rewriting the rules of the game. It is about making sure that the doors that once slammed shut in the faces of women are not just opened, they are blown off their hinges, never to be closed again. For every little girl who has been told to lower her voice, for every woman who has been made to feel like she should shrink to make others comfortable, for every female leader who has been doubted, questioned, underestimated, this is the revolution they never saw coming. Because here's the truth, women empowerment is not a request. It is a reality. It is not a matter of a when, it is here, it is now, it is happening. The world can either embrace it or get left behind. Because when women rise, societies thrive. When women lead, economies grow. When women are given the space to be their fullest, most unapologetic selves, the entire world changes for the better. But let's not pretend that empowerment is easy. No one hands over power willingly. No one gives away a throne without a fight. And that is why women do not wait for doors to be opened anymore. They build their own. They do not beg for seats at the table. They create their own tables, their own empires, their own legacies. There is no longer a choice between being strong and being liked. No longer a choice between being bold and being accepted. No longer a choice between ambition and approval. Women are choosing themselves, their dreams, their voices, and their futures without hesitation. And if that makes some people uncomfortable, so be it. Because empowerment is not about making everyone comfortable. It is about making change. It is about disrupting the old ways, challenging the norms, and breaking every single barrier that was put in place to hold women back. They said empowerment was about helping women rise. No. Empowerment is about letting women unleash the power they always had. It is about women realizing they were never weak, never incapable, never less than anyone else. It is about every woman who has ever been told to wait her turn, deciding that her turn is now. There is no stopping a woman who understands her worth. There is no defeating a woman who refuses to be silenced. There is no power greater than a woman who has stepped into her strength, her wisdom, and her own unstoppable force. Because the moment women stop waiting for empowerment and start living in their power, the world shifts, the game changes. The future is rewritten, and nothing, absolutely nothing, will ever be the same again. There has never been a force more powerful than a woman who decides she is done playing by the rules set to limit her. She was not born to fit into the narrow spaces designed to keep her small. She was born to break barriers, to push boundaries, to redefine what is possible. And yet, every step of her journey, she is met with walls. Walls built by centuries of expectations, limitations, and doubt. But what the world has failed to realize is that a woman who is determined will either break through the wall or build a door where one never existed. From the moment she dares to dream, society starts whispering in her ear, "That's not meant for you. It's too difficult. It's not the right path." But the thing about a woman with fire in her soul is that she doesn't hear the noise. She only hears her own voice telling her to keep going. They say she should stay in her place, but she was never meant to stand still. They say she should lower her gaze, but her eyes were always set on the sky. They say she should wait for her turn, but she was never one to wait. She creates her own opportunities. She builds her own empire. She becomes the storm they never saw coming. Every great woman who has walked this earth has been met with resistance. They doubted her. They ridiculed her. They made her feel like she was asking for too much, reaching too high, dreaming too big. But what they didn't know was that she was never asking. She was taking what was always hers. They tried to dim her light, but they didn't realize that she was the sun. You cannot dim the sun. You cannot contain its fire. You cannot silence its brilliance. They will put obstacles in her way. They will challenge her in ways that no one else is challenged. They will make her prove herself over and over again, and yet she will rise every single time. Because breaking barriers is in her blood. Because limits have never been her reality. Because she does not see impossibilities, she sees opportunities. A woman who has decided to rise is a woman who is unstoppable. There is nothing she will not achieve, no height she will not reach, no dream too big, no fight too hard. They told her to follow the path laid out for her, but she takes the road untraveled. She creates her own legacy. She refuses to be defined by the limitations of others. And what happens when she breaks those barriers? She does not just walk through the door, she holds it open for the next generation of women who will follow in her footsteps. She becomes the example, the proof, the living testament that it can be done. She is the voice that tells every young girl watching that nothing is beyond their reach, nothing is out of bounds, nothing is impossible. The world has spent centuries telling women what they cannot do. But what happens when a woman decides she will not listen? What happens when she refuses to be controlled, refuses to be caged, refuses to be tamed? She does not just rewrite history. She creates a future the world never saw coming. They built ceilings to keep her in. They built walls to hold her back. They built traditions to tell her who she should be. But they forgot one thing. A woman who has made up her mind cannot be stopped. She will push, she will fight, she will rise, and she will conquer. Because barriers are not meant to be feared, they are meant to be broken. And there is no force greater than a woman who refuses to be told no. There is nothing more powerful than a woman who refuses to be controlled. A woman who has tasted the fire of her own strength, who has seen what she is capable of, who has broken the chains that the world tried to wrap around her. She is the most unstoppable force in existence. For too long, society has conditioned women to believe that they must play by the rules. But what happens when a woman stops asking for approval? What happens when she decides that her worth is not defined by the standards of others, but by the fire that burns within her? They have tried to control women in every way possible. They have tried to control how she speaks, how she dresses, how she thinks, how she moves, how she dares to dream. They have tried to convince her that her place is in the shadows, in the background, in the silent corners of the world. But what they fail to understand is that a woman who has found her voice can never be silenced again. She does not need permission to be great. She does not need validation to rise. She does not need approval to take up space. The moment she realizes that everything she has ever needed is already inside of her, the moment she stops looking to the world to tell her who she should be, that is the moment she becomes truly dangerous. Because when a woman stops being controlled, she becomes limitless. She becomes the force that cannot be contained, the leader who cannot be ignored, the vision that the world never saw coming. She no longer moves according to expectations. She moves according to her own power. They will call her too bold. They will call her too fierce. They will call her too ambitious. They will call her too much. But she is not too much. They are simply not enough to handle her. The world fears an uncontrolled woman. Because she is unpredictable. Because she does not follow the script. Because she does not bow to tradition just because it is tradition. Because she does not lower her gaze or soften her voice just to make others comfortable. She has stepped into her truth, and there is no turning back. They will try to shame her, they will try to break her, they will try to make her question herself. But a woman who knows her own power is immune to their games. She does not crumble under criticism. She does not shrink in the face of opposition. She does not give up when the road gets tough. Because she was built for this battle. She is not afraid of being called difficult. She is not afraid of making people uncomfortable. She is not afraid of walking alone because she knows that her journey is her own. And she will walk it with pride. She does not wait for doors to open for her. She kicks them down. She does not wait for opportunities. She creates them. She does not wait for the world to be ready for her. She makes the world adjust to her presence. And when she takes her place, when she stands in her power, when she refuses to be controlled, the world will have no choice but to respect her. Because there is nothing more terrifying to those in power than a woman who refuses to be controlled, refuses to be silenced, and refuses to be anything less than extraordinary. They say failure is a woman's greatest fear, but they are wrong. A woman's greatest fear is not failure, it is being caged. Being told she cannot, being told she is not enough, being told she must wait her turn, stay in line, be careful, be quiet. But what they fail to realize is that a woman who has tasted failure and risen again is more powerful than anyone can imagine. The world has tried to use failure as a weapon against women. It has tried to make them believe that a single misstep defines them, that a single fall means they are not worthy, that a single rejection should make them shrink back into the shadows. But what happens when a woman decides that failure is not her enemy? What happens when she sees failure not as the end but as a lesson? Not as shame but as strength? She becomes fearless. Because the truth is, failure is not the opposite of success. It is part of success. Every woman who has ever built something great has first walked through the fire of failure. Every woman who has ever stood on top has first been knocked down. Every woman who has ever won has first faced defeat. But the difference between those who succeed and those who don't is simple. Some give up and some rise up. A woman who refuses to fear failure is a woman who is unstoppable. She does not break when things don't go her way. She does not quit when the road gets hard. She does not stop just because someone tells her no. Because she understands that every failure is a message. It is the universe testing her, asking her, how bad do you want this? And her answer, more than anything, they said she wouldn't make it. They said she wasn't strong enough. They said she wasn't smart enough, bold enough, capable enough. They counted her out. They laughed at her dreams. They whispered behind her back, waiting for her to fall. And maybe she did fall. Maybe she hit rock bottom. Maybe she questioned herself, doubted herself, wondered if they were right. Maybe she cried, maybe she broke down, maybe she had moments where she almost believed she wasn't enough. But then she got up. Because that's what women do, they rise. Again and again, no matter how hard they fall, no matter how much it hurts, no matter how deep the wounds, they rise. They rise with fire in their souls and steel in their veins. They rise because they have no other choice, because they were never meant to stay down. A woman who has failed and risen is dangerous. She is fearless. She is unshakable. She does not fear rejection because she has faced worse and survived. She does not fear setbacks because she knows they are temporary. She does not fear obstacles because she has climbed mountains before. The world is terrified of a woman who has embraced failure because she is no longer afraid. Because there is nothing they can do to break her now. Because she has learned that failure does not define her. She defines herself. So let them doubt her. Let them question her. Let them tell her she is not capable. Because she knows something they don't. She knows that every setback is setting her up for something greater. She knows that every closed door is leading her to a better one. She knows that every failure is just fuel for the fire burning inside her. And that fire, it cannot be put out. A woman who dares to dream is a woman who dares to challenge the world. She is not just dreaming for herself, she is dreaming for every woman who was told to settle, to stay quiet, to not aim too high. Every great change, every revolution, every groundbreaking moment started with one thing, a dream. And yet, society has spent centuries trying to convince women that their dreams are too big, too bold, too unrealistic. They have been told, be practical. They have been told, stay in your limits. They have been told, know your place. But what happens when a woman refuses to listen? What happens when she dares to dream anyway? What happens when she believes even when no one else does? She becomes unstoppable. Because a dream is not just a vision. It is a fire that refuses to be put out, a fire that grows stronger with every doubt, every challenge, every obstacle thrown in its path. The world fears a woman who dreams because she is unpredictable, she is relentless, she is a force they cannot control. They said she shouldn't dream of leading, but she did. They said she shouldn't dream of building empires, but she did. They said she shouldn't dream of being more than what they expected, but she did. And then she made those dreams a reality. Because a woman's dream is not just a fantasy, it is a blueprint. It is a battle plan. It is a declaration that she refuses to be less than what she was meant to be. She does not just dream for the sake of dreaming. She dreams to create, to build, to shatter limitations, to prove that there is no such thing as too much when it comes to ambition. The world will try to intimidate a woman with a dream. They will call her delusional, they will call her reckless, they will try to break her spirit before she even begins. But what they don't realize is that a woman who has seen the future she wants will never unsee it. She will chase it with everything she has, with every ounce of strength in her soul, with every heartbeat that reminds her she was born for more. She will not apologize for wanting more than the bare minimum. She will not lower her standards to fit into someone else's idea of what is possible. She will not shrink to make others comfortable because she was never meant to live a small life. She will dream bigger than they can comprehend. She will push harder than they ever thought possible. She will rise higher than they ever imagined. And when she does, they will call her lucky. They will say she was given opportunities. They will try to downplay the fire that she built from nothing but her own willpower. But she will know the truth. She was never lucky. She was relentless. She was fearless. She refused to stop. She did not wait for permission. She did not wait for approval. She did not wait for the world to tell her she was allowed to succeed. She decided, she declared, she became. Because dreams are not just meant to be imagined. They are meant to be lived. And a woman who has found her dream is a woman who has found her power. And nothing, not doubt, not fear, not society, not failure can take that away from her. They say confidence is a woman's greatest weapon, but they forget it is also her greatest threat to those who fear her power. Because the moment a woman believes in herself, the world can no longer manipulate her. No longer tell her she is not enough. No longer convince her that she must stay small. A confident woman does not wait for validation. She validates herself. She does not look into the mirror searching for permission to take up space. She claims it. She does not wait for applause. She becomes her own standing ovation. They have tried to teach women to be humble, to be modest, to not shine too brightly. They have told women, don't be too loud, don't be too bold, don't be too sure of yourself. But what happens when a woman stops listening? What happens when she walks into the room knowing she belongs there? What happens when she speaks her mind without shrinking her voice? She becomes a force that cannot be ignored. Confidence is not arrogance. Confidence is not pride. Confidence is power. And the world is terrified of a powerful woman because she is impossible to control. She does not apologize for her brilliance. She does not hide her strength. She does not play small just to make others comfortable. She has spent years, decades, lifetimes being told that she must prove herself, that she must earn the right to be seen, that she must work twice as hard to get half as far. But a confident woman does not ask for a seat at the table, she builds her own. And if they do not give her a microphone, she does not wait. She speaks so loudly the world has no choice but to listen. They tell her confidence is dangerous, and they are right. It is dangerous to a world that was built to keep her down. It is dangerous to those who benefited from her silence. It is dangerous to those who underestimated her. A woman who has stepped into her power is a revolution in motion. She walks differently. She talks differently. She moves through life knowing she is deserving of everything she dreams of. And when people see her, they do not just see a woman. They see a force of nature, a storm of unstoppable energy, a vision of strength that cannot be denied. They will try to break her confidence. They will question her. They will challenge her. They will tell her she is too much. But she does not waver. She does not seek approval because she knows who she is. She is the woman who stands tall even when they try to knock her down. She is the woman who speaks her truth even when they try to silence her. She is the woman who walks into every room like she belongs there, because she does. And when she looks in the mirror, she does not see flaws, she does not see limits, she does not see doubts. She sees a woman who owns herself completely. Because confidence is not given, it is not handed out. It is not granted by society. It is taken, it is claimed, it is built from the ground up. And when a woman decides she is worthy, the world has no choice but to believe it too. There is nothing more powerful, nothing more unbreakable, nothing more extraordinary than a woman who knows her worth. A woman who refuses to be defined by others. A woman who does not seek validation, who does not wait for the world to approve of her existence, who does not measure her value by someone else's standards, because she knows she is enough, just as she is. But the world has spent years, generations, lifetimes trying to convince women otherwise. It has whispered to them that they are only worthy if they are beautiful enough, quiet enough, obedient enough. It has taught them that their value is in their ability to please others, to serve, to sacrifice, to fit into the perfect little box that has been created for them. But what happens when a woman steps out of that box? What happens when she stands up and declares, I am enough? Not because you say so, but because I say so. She becomes unstoppable. Because a woman who knows her worth does not beg for respect, she commands it. She does not lower herself to be accepted, she rises and makes the world adjust to her height. She does not settle for half love, half opportunities, half dreams, because she knows she deserves it all. They will tell her she is being too demanding. They will tell her she is expecting too much. They will tell her she should be grateful for what she has. But she will not apologize for wanting more. She will not shrink herself to fit into someone else's comfort zone. Because she knows she was never meant to live a life of almost. She was not born to be half-loved. She was not born to be tolerated. She was not born to be someone's afterthought. She was born to shine, to lead, to be more than just enough. She was born to be extraordinary. A woman who knows her worth does not chase. She attracts. She does not beg. She decides. She does not wait. She takes. She does not let rejection break her, because rejection does not define her. She does not let failure shake her, because failure does not limit her. She does not let society's expectations dictate her life, because she was not put on this earth to be someone else's version of acceptable. She loves herself fiercely. She protects her energy. She does not allow toxic people to drain her. She walks away from situations that do not serve her, from people who do not respect her, from places where she is not valued. Not because she is arrogant, not because she thinks she is better than others, but because she knows what she deserves. And she refuses to settle for less. They will call her difficult, they will call her intimidating, they will call her too much, but she is not too much. She is simply unwilling to be less. Because she knows that the moment she starts accepting less than she deserves, she is teaching the world that it is okay to treat her that way. But she refuses. She refuses to let anyone dim her light. She refuses to let anyone tell her what she can and cannot be. She stands tall, knowing that her worth is not defined by how many people approve of her. Her worth is not measured by how well she fits into someone else's mold. Her worth is not determined by whether the world is ready to accept her. She is worthy because she exists. She is worthy because she dares to be herself. She is worthy because she has fought battles no one even knows about and still stands with her head held high. And when she walks into a room, She does not question whether she belongs. She does not wait for someone to validate her presence. She does not seek permission to be great, because she already knows she is enough, and that is more than enough. They say a woman should be careful, that she should watch her words, watch her steps, watch her dreams, watch how much space she takes up. They say she should play it safe, avoid risks, stay in the comfort of what is certain. But tell me, has anything great ever been built from safety? Has any empire ever been created without risk? Has any legend ever been written by someone who refused to step into the unknown? A woman who dares to take risks is a woman who dares to change the world. She is not reckless, she is fearless. She does not gamble with her future. She bets on herself. And when the world tells her, "What if you fail?" she smiles and says, "But what if I fly?" Because she understands something that many fear, that the greatest danger is not failure, but never trying at all. The biggest risk is not losing, it is living a life of what ifs. What if she had spoken up? What if she had taken the leap? What if she had believed in herself just a little more? She refuses to live with regrets. They told her, "Stay where you are, it's safe." But she was not born to live safely. She was born to soar. They told her, "Why take the risk? What if it doesn't work out?" And she answered, "What if it does?" They told her, "Be practical, be careful, be patient." But she knew. Dreams do not wait. Success does not come to those who hesitate. And greatness is never born from playing small. She has seen what happens to those who fear risk. She has seen dreams buried under self-doubt. She has seen brilliance go unrecognized because it was too afraid to shine. She has seen women shrink themselves because they were taught that risk is dangerous, that failure is shameful, that stepping outside the lines will lead to disaster. But she refuses to be one of them, because she understands that every successful woman, every leader, every icon, every trailblazer, at some point they took a risk. They bet on themselves when no one else did. They stood at the edge of uncertainty, not knowing if they would fall or fly, and they jumped anyway. She knows that nothing worth having comes without risk. She knows that the only way to discover her full potential is to push beyond her limits. She knows that if she never tries, she has already lost. So, she takes the risk. She applies for the job she thinks is out of her league. She starts the business that everyone says will never work. She walks away from situations that do not serve her, even when the future is uncertain. She speaks up even when her voice shakes. She understands that courage is not the absence of fear, it is action in spite of it. She feels the fear, the doubt, the uncertainty, but she moves forward anyway, because she would rather fail 1,000 times than live a life where she never even tried. They will call her foolish. They will call her reckless. They will call her crazy for believing she can build something out of nothing. But what they don't realize is that every great woman in history was once called crazy. Every woman who has broken barriers, shattered ceilings, rewritten the rules, they all took risks that no one else was brave enough to take. And when she stands on the other side, when she has turned her risks into rewards, when she has built the life they said was impossible, the same people who doubted her will call her lucky. But she will know the truth. It was never luck. It was courage. It was risk. It was faith in herself when no one else had it. And that faith, it is what will take her further than fear ever could. They say success is about talent, about luck, about timing. But what they don't tell you is that success, true, unstoppable, undeniable success, is built on resilience. Not on how many times you win, but on how many times you refuse to stay down when you lose. A woman who refuses to give up is a woman who cannot be defeated. She may stumble, she may fall, she may be knocked down 100 times, but every single time she rises. Again and again and again. Because she understands that failure is not the opposite of success, it is part of it. It is the foundation, the fire, the force that shapes her into something unbreakable. She knows that every powerful woman before her has faced rejection. Every leader, every icon, every game changer has heard the words, "No, not you. No, not now. No, you can't." But she also knows that those words mean nothing unless she believes them, and she doesn't. Because she knows that her story is not written by those who doubt her. It is written by her, with her own hands, with her own will. They told her she wasn't good enough, so she worked harder. They told her the doors were closed to her, so she built her own. They told her the world wasn't ready for a woman like her, so she made them ready. Because she refuses to be stopped by failure. She refuses to be broken by rejection. She refuses to believe that just because she lost today, she will lose forever. She has seen others give up when things got tough. She has seen dreams abandoned at the first sign of struggle. But she has also seen what happens when a woman keeps going no matter what. She has seen what happens when a woman turns pain into power. They say it's too hard. She says nothing worth having ever comes easy. They say, but what if you fail? She says, then I'll fail forward. They say, maybe you should quit. She says, watch me prove you wrong. Because quitting is not an option, not for her. Not for a woman who has fought too hard, sacrificed too much, and come too far to turn back now. She knows that every struggle, every setback, every sleepless night, every tear, every moment of doubt, it is all part of something greater. It is the price she pays for her dreams. And she is willing to pay it. Because she is not chasing an easy life. She is chasing a legendary one. She does not run from challenges, she runs toward them. She does not fear failure, she uses it as fuel. She does not let obstacles stop her. She finds a way through, over or around them. And the world will ask her, how did you do it? And she will smile because they will never understand what it took. The late nights, the silent battles, the moments where she almost gave up but didn't. Because they will only see the woman who made it, but she will always remember the woman who fought for it. The woman who kept going when no one believed in her. The woman who turned every no into a watch me. And that is what makes her unstoppable. They will ask how she did it. They will wonder how she defied the odds. How she shattered the ceilings built to keep her in. How she stood tall when the world tried to shrink her. They will whisper about her strength, they will analyze her courage, they will admire her resilience. But they will never truly understand the fire that burns within a woman who refuses to be stopped. Because she is not just a woman, she is a revolution. She is the force that history tried to silence, the storm that the world tried to contain, the voice that generations before her fought to give power to, and now she stands, unapologetic, unshaken, unstoppable. She was never handed success. She built it. She was never given opportunities. She created them. She did not wait for the world to tell her she was enough. She told the world. And now, the same people who doubted her, who underestimated her, who told her to stay in her place, they are watching her rise. She has learned that power was never something given to women, it was something they had to take. And she has taken it with both hands, with a fierce heart, with a mind that refuses to be limited, with a spirit that refuses to bow. She has learned that fear will never disappear, but it can be defeated. That rejection is not the end, but the beginning of something greater. That no failure is ever final unless she decides to stop. She has learned that there will always be voices telling her she cannot. But the only voice that matters is the one inside her that says, yes, I can. And now she looks in the mirror and sees not just a woman, but a warrior, a fighter, a leader, a force of nature who knows that her dreams are not just dreams, they are her destiny. They told her to stay quiet, she learned to roar. They told her to follow the rules, she wrote her own. They told her she was dreaming too big, she made those dreams a reality. Because she is not here to take permission. She is not here to ask for acceptance. She is not here to fit into a mold that was never meant for her. She is here to break barriers, to rewrite the narrative, to show the world what happens when a woman believes in her own power. And to every woman who is still afraid, still doubting, still questioning if she is enough, let this be your answer. You are not just enough. You are more than enough. You are not too much. The world is just not ready for your greatness. You are not lost. You are finding your way, and every step forward is proof that you are meant for something bigger. So take the risk. Speak your truth. Own your power, because you were never meant to live a life of limits. You were meant to rise, to lead, to inspire, to conquer. And when they ask you how you did it, when they look at you with wonder, when they try to understand how you became this unstoppable force, just smile and say, because I refuse to give up.